Folks, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. And let's throw hockey into the mix because hockey is back, baby. It's back. We're back. We are pumped. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. Enjoy the show. And... Good enough. If that's where I cut it off, good enough for me. Bruce is asking to get out. We're all, we all just want to get out. We want to get away because baseball season, at least as far as this guy is concerned, is over. So it's time to say goodbye to your Philadelphia Phillies and shift into Flyers mode.
And soup mode because we are getting into cold weather season.
You do have to shift into soup mode, and soup season is very important for me these days. So, yes, you do have to shift into soup mode. But more importantly,
Flyers.
It's Flyers season, baby.
It's officially here. We survived. We survived the summer.
We did survive the summer. You'll be hearing this podcast on basically Flyers Eve. So the season starts on a Friday night in Vancouver for some reason because the NHL definitely hates us. But yeah,
it does. It really does.
The season starts on a Friday night in Vancouver, but you'll be listening to this on a Thursday at some point, most likely. Not in Vancouver, maybe. You could be in Vancouver. I don't know. But yeah.
It'd be cool if you're in Vancouver. Could go see some whales before the Flyers.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Go check
this
out
guy, Ryan Quigley, loves his whales. And that actually ties into how I wanted to start because for some of you, it might be your first time listening to Flyperbole. You might be saying, hey, those Philadelphia Flyers sure are intriguing, especially with the Phillies being massive disappointments and the Eagles being, I don't know what. But yeah, you might be thinking, I might be able to shift into Flyers mode. I might be able to get into those Philadelphia hockey Flyers. And if that's the case, welcome to Flyperbole. My name is Steve Jaco. I have been potting about this God-forsaken team since 2012, and I like to combine the elements of a morning zoo radio show with hockey talk. So here we are at this this chaotic show that I very much enjoy making. And Ryan Quigley here is my partner in crime in this, and the man loves whales, amongst other things.
Love a good whale, big whale guy, and also the sport of hockey, which I hear they play on ice.
I've heard that. It's true.
Yeah. And the Flyers are a team and they play the sport of hockey, as I've been told.
You have been told that. Yes.
Here we go. It all comes together. Yeah. Really looking forward to this season. It's been a long summer of shenanigans, of putting together show ideas that don't make sense, but that's kind of the point of our show to begin with, so it doesn't really matter.
I gotta say, for us, that summer
we did great.
Pretty quick.
And we didn't really take many weeks off this summer. No days off, Steve.
No days off. I think we took like 2 weeks off, which I mean,
in total.
Honestly, I used to do this show I used to do every other week in the summer. So come a long way from there. But also the fact of the matter is in summers past, I've really gotten into the nonsense weeds and done some crazy show topics that have nothing to do with hockey. But I didn't have to this summer because the Flyers had some very minor drama that followed them around.
Yeah, constant minor stuff, but stuff nonetheless. You know what's annoying is I, over the last 2 weeks, came up with a million show topic ideas for off season. And where was that 2 months ago?
Where was that too? That's what I'm wondering. I'm sitting here going, where are the friggin' off-season show ideas from Ryan Quigley?
Do you want to know? Do you want to know what they are?
You could save some of them. I'm okay with that.
I kind of want to just talk it over now. Because like, the next few months we're going to be very busy
You're
with
shifting into
actual
hockey mode.
like season stuff. So like
Yeah.
we might as well give our people I'm sure there's some diehard
Flypaniacs. That is the official term
up there somewhere. So maybe we'll give them, if they're an actual diehard, then they'll get a sneak preview of what we're going to do next offseason. One of them is just listing off guys. Random guys who played for the Flyers, and whoever lists the most random people wins the game.
Are you going to take me on at random Flyers? Because
I know you will beat me.
I can do this all day.
I know you can. And you can go back further in time than I can.
You're damn right about that.
But I still feel like
there's a reason the jersey being repped tonight is the 90s style jersey.
Yeah,
because
it's your era.
Yeah, that's my era. The 90s. I mean, this one goes back to the 80s, but like my era specifically, like my jam with the Philadelphia Hockey Flyers is the late 90s, early 2000s. Like those were my guys right there. I mean, I've loved the Flyers since I was I did Mites on Ice when I was 5, so you could say since I was 5, but
how good were you?
Terrible.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What position were you?
I don't know.
You were just running around. You're like the rover. My
dad made fun of me about it until like 2 or 3 years ago. And like I was 5 years old, Dad.
Like, you were your team's Dustin Byfuglien. Like you were forward 1 minute, defenseman the next.
I was my team's Andrew McDonald because I was falling all over the ice and starfishing.
I
was starfishing like crazy. I couldn't skate to save my. I could skate okay now, but I could not skate to save my life. And my dad, like once I gave up, he was like, "Yeah, fine, give up. I don't care." So I got to play at the Spectrum once, so that's cool. But cool. I mean, I would say like you could argue I've been a Flyers fan since I was 5 years old, but like my hardcore Flyers fandom goes back to like 94, about that point, which it's been a while. Actually, that's 30 years of Flyers fandom right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, here we are.
How about that?
I don't know if I told you this story. So when I was younger, I also played hockey, but
oh wow,
I also sucked, much like you, real bad. And I remember being so excited because my brother and I, when we were little kids, we loved, we were big in the NHL. At the time I was like young enough where like I didn't know the players or anything, but I loved the sport. I thought it was cool. And I remember we always were asking our parents, can we play hockey? And like for the longest time we weren't able to. Then we moved to Virginia and they pulled us aside. They're like, guess what? You're going to play hockey. And we were like, let's fucking go. And so like they brought us to the hockey arena or like the little place that we were going to play. They didn't mention it was fucking roller hockey. That doesn't count, Steve.
And I love roller hockey, but yeah, I know.
Roller hockey's cool if you're like in the show Rocket Power, but like.
Don't tell that to any member of the Philadelphia Bulldogs roller hockey team from the mid 90s, because I bet those guys can throw down.
I don't know who they are. I've never heard of that team.
Oh, my friend. I have a logo.
I've never heard of the Bulldogs.
I have a logo to show you right now, and I am excited to show this to you. I'm loving the multimedia capabilities of this show. And give me 1 second while I get a proper large view of this logo up. But yeah, the Philadelphia Bulldogs there was a professional roller hockey league in the mid 90s, and the Philadelphia Bulldogs were Philadelphia's team there. And let me okay. So for the people watching on YouTube, I am pulling up the Philadelphia Bulldogs logo for Ryan Quigley right now. And
that's actually a sick logo.
It's a friggin'
that's an awesome logo. Honestly, I would put that on my car.
Yeah, it's dope. So for those who are listening to audio only, probably the majority of you, the logo is a rollerblading bulldog with a very mischievous, like badass look on his face. And just Google it. It's a freaking great logo. Yeah, I think I found a website that sells this shirt, and I'm going to pull the trigger on that.
Dude, like, let me know. I will wear that shirt.
I will. I'll
Absolutely, I
send
would
you the
wear that
link
shirt.
afterwards because I think that site also had a John LeClaire Team USA shirtsy, which I also want to
Yeah.
pull the trigger on. So for once, the Instagram ads came through for me. But yeah, the Philadelphia Bulldogs killer logo. I do agree with you though. Roller hockey just ain't the same
It's
because
not. Like, I'm
yeah,
sorry. Like, it's I mean, it's fun, but it's not cool.
it's not
Like,
cool.
no one
It's fun. I actually
when
I
people say
will.
they want to play hockey, they're not talking about roller hockey.
No. I mean, you know what? If you want to say I played hockey, I played floor hockey in a league in Roxborough for a few years
Yeah.
with my first podcast co-host Hal Greenblatt, and I was I scored one goal, so I did better at floor hockey than I did at ice hockey. But yeah,
Yeah.
ice hockey is the real deal, Holyfield. Like that's what's up. So here's a little background. Like as I mentioned, I've been a Flyers fan for 30 years at this point. It's wild to think about. And Quigley here is, I think, what makes our dynamic interesting is you are a lot newer of a Flyers fan than I am.
I didn't start watching the Flyers until 2012.
Oh, wow.
So
I am stunned that you've stuck with it.
I missed the Stanley Cup run that they lost, but I missed that. I missed the Penguins series.
Oh,
So I started watching the Flyers the next season, the lockout shortened season. So I missed that amazing Flyers Penguins series that, the Flyers obviously won in 6 games back in the 2011-12 season. The 12-13 season is when I started watching, and I caught on super, super, super fast. But dude, it's been rough. It's been tough sledding since I started watching. Literally ever since I started watching hockey religiously as an adult, the Flyers have been painstakingly bad since then. And I'm wondering if I'm the problem. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So
the problem is that this is a franchise that it took them forever to adapt to the salary cap era. I mean, as somebody who's seen it firsthand, the Flyers were a team that their entire reputation is built what's on the mug I'm rocking tonight, the Broad Street Bullies.
Yeah.
In the 70s, the Flyers just crushed everybody by being literal bullies out on the ice and just beating the shit out of people. And in the 80s, they adapted to the game where they scored a lot more and they came close to a couple times, but no cigar. And then the 90s, they, were firmly in the clutch and grab era and got bigger and stronger. And they had guys like my favorite, Eric Lindros and John LeClaire, big, strong guys who could play with the game that day. But then when the salary cap era kicked in, because the Flyers also used to just buy guys out. They just go in, Ed Snyder would just be like, well, I'll just spend more money.
Yeah,
you could. But then the salary cap kicked in and the game also just got faster. And the Flyers never adapted with that. So for the past, for most of the past decade, it was Claude Giroux, who fantastic player, all-time Flyer. But it was Claude Giroux, Voracek, who we all really like, Jake Voracek, but the man never really saw a shot he liked. Wayne Simmons, who was great. We, consummate Flyer, but there was a ceiling on Wayne Simmons, and it wasn't the highest ceiling. It was a good ceiling, but it wasn't the best ceiling. And guys like Braden Shen, Shane Gostisbehere, Steve Mason had a couple good years there. Bobrovsky, there have been names, but it's not there's no Legion of Doom for the past
and they never lined up. Over the last 10 years, they've never gotten names to line up at the perfect time where they're all amazing at the same time. The closest thing I can think to that was, Giroux, Voracek, Simmons.
Yeah.
That was if you had to pick a big 3 or something, that I think would be it. I mean, I don't know what else it would be for over the last 10 years. So.
Yeah. In the last, and it's weird to think about. It's been almost 15 years now since that last cup run in 2010, when the big names were Chris Pronger, Chris Pronger was awesome as a Flyer, but in classic Flyers form, they got him at the end of his career. And also just not that fast at that point. Incredibly crafty, but not that fast. So the thing is, the Flyers have been looking to adapt to the modern game for a good long while at this point. And why we're optimistic today about this team potentially is it looks like, knock on wood and all that, Danny Briere, the general manager, and Keith Jones and all that, like, it looks like these guys who have also played in the modern era, at least Danny Briere has, are finally starting to get some pieces that fit in the modern NHL, and it's very exciting. So if you're here and you're new today, I'm sure the reason you're here today is because of Matvei Michkov. And I'm so unbelievably excited to see what he does in regular season hockey, because
the savior.
His preseason was beyond expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, that is exactly that's the kind of preseason you want to see from a guy who you're expecting to come in and be a superstar at some point. I was not expecting him to come in and look that good. Like, I was expecting him to look better than everyone else, which he did, but he looked like worlds better than everyone else.
I wasn't expecting him to look better though than guys like Travis Konechny, for instance. Like, he looked even better than Konechny, who's been the Flyers' best player for like 2-3 years now.
Yeah. Also, I'm kind of taking that with a grain of salt a little bit, because like, it's preseason. Like, how hard is Konechny really even like going?
Sure. But
are they giving it 100% preseason? Like, at this point in their stage of their career, probably not. But like, here's Konechny and him, like, when he turned it on sometimes, and I was like, he can hang with Konechny. Like, yeah, absolutely. That's not a question.
I don't know necessarily Matvei Michkov was giving 100% either.
He may not have been. Who's to say?
Which is exciting to think about.
Personally, I think he is, because like, he's a rookie. Like, it's a new league, new team, new teammates. Like, one can imagine that he's coming in trying to like establish himself as like, hey, look at me, I can fit in here too. Like, I'm the man. You know what I mean? So I feel like he was probably giving it as much effort as he reasonably should in preseason. But like, regardless, he looked so good. Like, superstar level good. And, you know, a few months ago, we were talking about what can we expect from Matvei Michkov. It's Michkov. Matvei Michkov.
Now that we have the Jim Jackson pronunciation.
Yeah.
So but Jim Jackson's the authority on this.
What can we expect from Matvei Michkov in year one? And for the longest time, I was like, if he gets like, 48 points as a rookie, I'll be thrilled. Like, that would be amazing. That's a good, like, objectively, that is a good rookie season. Very good.
For sure. Yeah. I'm
like, after seeing him in the preseason, I'm thinking, can this guy hit like 70? I don't know that. I should. Is that a healthy way of looking at it? Perhaps not. But like, no. dude, like, could he? I think he has showed us enough in preseason to where that is a thought that should reasonably cross your mind. Like, is he good enough that he could be a 70-point player as a rookie? I know that's a tall ask, but like, my God, you know, and if he doesn't, whatever, that's fine. But like, he looks like he could do it.
He does look like he can do it. And what's really encouraging on that front is that he is starting the season, at least per the projections we saw, on the top line, which, you know, we were talking a few months ago. We're like, is he, do they start him on the second line, the third line even? And just the way he looked, the way he handled himself. And I'm guessing he was that good in camp, because the thing is, John Tortorella, no matter how much of a resume you have, no matter how much, hype you might have behind your name, John Tortorella doesn't give a shit about any of that.
Right.
John Tortorella is not going to give you a spot that high in the lineup unless he thinks it's truly warranted. So whatever he was showing in camp, in practice, impressed Torts, because Torts was trying him out with Tippett and Frost. He was trying him out with Couturier and Konechny. Like, those are your top 6 guys right there. And that's really like a sign of trust and a sign of that him doing the right stuff in preseason and in training camp. So the projections right now, at least per the lines I saw, is Michkov, Couturier, and Konechny on the top line, which is hot. I'm just going to flat out say it's
very
hot.
Nice.
Very nice. The Michkov Konechny connection came through big time in the Boston game.
Yeah, we already saw it in overtime. Michkov scores the game winner.
As I said to Kelly Hinkle the other day, just go with your heart for now.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel comfortable saying pronunciation, just roll with it for now, and then we'll figure it out as we go along.
At some point, it'll be second nature. But like to your point, we have seen the Michkov TK connection, on full display already, and it looked real good, Steve.
It sure did. But he also looked good with Frost and Tippett.
He did. He looks good. Here's the thing: is he looks good with no matter who you put next to him. That's what's wild. And like
that's what a star player does, which is something that we haven't seen a lot of around these parts in recent years.
And so like you're looking at this, the lines, you got Michkov on the first line as a rookie. You got Michkov on the top power play unit as a rookie. It's built around Michkov. Like that
he's 19.
He's 19 goddamn years old. He's already the centerpiece of the team. And we knew that was going to happen because we knew the pedigree he had coming in. We knew that he was like something of a prodigy when the Flyers drafted him. So like none of this should be a shock, but like it's happening. That's the crazy thing is that it's actually happening right now in front of our eyes. We're seeing him be the best player on the ice. On most shifts, we're seeing him just fix the Flyers power play single-handedly.
And it's just like his offensive instincts, and I can't say this enough, are unlike anything I might have ever seen around here. And I've seen some amazing players, but he's seeing things in a different dimension than a lot of guys. He is just like such a forward-thinking offensive player. It is inspirational to watch him out there.
Steve, do we have a new Mr. Chess, not checkers?
Oh, we might. He's playing. Is that
a reasonable question to ask? I think it is.
It is a reasonable question.
If he makes the plays during the regular season that he made during the preseason, Steve, I'm sorry, but the OG, Mr. Chestnut Checkers, Sean Couturier, he ain't making those plays.
I agree. And I mean, we're at the point right now where I love Sean Couturier, but we're talking about Sean Couturier. Like, if we can get a better center in there and he can play second or third center, then I feel a lot better about, Coots moving forward than I necessarily do now. And you're already seeing like in the projected power play units, Couturier is not present in those as they're currently made up. Because I think Tortorella realizes just how out of gas Couturier was at the end of last season. And if you're going to use Sean Couturier in one area on the ice, you really want to use him more on the defensive end, because Sean Couturier is a guy who, since he was 19 years old, has excelled in the defensive aspects of the game. So if he's going to excel in one area and you're going to focus his efforts, you focus it on the defense easily. But Michkov, man, like, as far as offense goes, he is just seeing everything 2-3 steps ahead. He also just does stuff with the puck that you don't expect him to do. He's so good in close. He's so strong on the puck. It's scary to think that he's just going to get stronger because he's so young.
Mm-hmm. And the best part is that John Tortorella has come out and straight up said, we're not changing him. Like, we don't want to change him. We're going to let him go. He said that. He said, we're going to let him go. We're going to let him play his game because he brings something that we have been craving for years. And they're just going to let him loose. And that's exactly what you have to do when you have a player with the offensive capabilities that Michkov has. So everything seems to be lining up here, Steve. Like, from the coach's willingness to let him play his game to him actually playing his game to potentially, did you get the fly?
I came close, but
okay. Now that we're back on this topic, Steve, let's tell the audience.
I don't want to know. The audience doesn't. Let's talk about hockey. We
will, but we just need to get. So there's a fly running rampant in Steve's house right now. It keeps going through the screen. It's really funny. So I decided to Google how many flies are on the planet Earth, and the answer may shock you. The answer is that there are roughly 17 million flies for each person on the planet. So that's 17 million times 8 billion. And that number is how many flies are on the planet Earth. Crazy.
I don't like it.
It's a little much. If you ask
I don't
me.
like it. I don't like to think about it. I want to think about good things like Matvei Michkov right now. That's what
right.
I want to think about.
Not a fly.
I want to think about MM39. Okay. I don't want to think about no damn flies.
Yeah. I had to bring it up because, fate just happened to bounce that way. But Matvei Michkov
he's just, the hype man.
He's the only reason to watch the Flyers this season. Honestly, I shouldn't say the only reason. Yeah. There's a lot of reasons, but
this is why we got to talk, because there are other people that might think that way, and they would be mistaken. Because even if he wasn't here, I'd say there's plenty of reasons to watch the Flyers this season. Yeah. He just is the best reason because he friggin' rules. And I'm happy. I was talking shit to Pittsburgh Steve at my work at lunch. I guess for new listeners, there's another Steve in my life who roots for the Penguins, and I work with him, and I call him Pittsburgh Steve. So there you go. Great backstory. Wow, cool story, bro. But Pittsburgh Steve, I was talking shit, and he's like, oh, he's not going to pan out. I'm like, oh, he's here, and he's glorious, Pittsburgh Steve. You better watch out, brother. He's coming for you, Matvei Michkov. He's bringing the heat. He's going to score 40 goals, brother.
I'm just imagining the guy during the Penguins Flyers series. The
guy
the
who
Penguins fan who's
Hogan,
just like, and then Scott Hartnell's just doing the same
Malcolmania.
Thing. Yeah. So
Malkin Mania, dressed up in a Malkin jersey in particular.
Yeah.
That was a choice. I think that guy, whatever.
Maybe he's dead. But
I believe that is the case. Yes.
So what a shame. So basically I'm
sure he's a nice guy. Whatever.
Regardless. So, we got you're right. There's a lot more to this season than just Michkov, but I think we can agree Michkov is the thing. Like the thing to watch. Yeah.
I'm basically going up to people on the street and I'm grabbing them and I go, do you know that Matvei Michkov is here and he looks amazing?
It's true. Yeah. I did it.
Shaking them.
I did it to a guy in my office today. So he was wearing a Flyers hoodie and I was just like excited for the season. He's like, yeah, Michkov, baby. And he's like, what? And I was like, Jesus Christ.
I got to educate you, my friend.
Yeah.
I got to educate you. My boss came up and asked me a simple question about how many games Couturier was going to play this year. And I must have, I gave him a mini podcast.
Bet you did.
I talked to him for like 15 minutes. I'm like, well, it isn't a matter of if he'll play 20 games. It's whether if he'll be effective for more than 20 games. And I just went on. And I don't know if he meant for that to happen or if he regretted it instantly, but that's what happens. And I'm excited to talk about this team. When you wanted to talk to me in my office about this team 2 years ago, I went,
no one wanted to talk about it then. Like that, honestly, what was it? The 2021-22 season? That might have been the darkest timeline.
That was the most miserable I was going into a Flyer season because
it was so bad. It was the Tony DeAngelo season.
Right. Where Chuck Fletcher said, they want to bring a local guy home. Well, have I got news for them? I'm not going to get Johnny Gaudreau. I'm going to get Tony DeAngelo, the guy everybody wants to bring home. He's got no reputation issues. It's going to work out great. Spoiler alert.
Did not work out
great. It did not. It worked out very
pretty bad. Yeah.
You could even argue that led to Cutter William Gauthier wanting off of the Flyers.
I do wonder what that had to, because listen, we won't ever know maybe one day we'll hear the full story of what actually happened. Like maybe Tony DeAngelo will show up on some Russian ass podcast because he's in the KHL now. And
any day now he's going to show up.
Yeah. But at some point, someone's going to disclose what actually happened. I really, really think that the main reason why the Flyers did not play Cutter Gauthier that season was because the locker room was in a bad place. It was not in a good place. You got Tony DeAngelo in there who, by all accounts, a lot of his teammates have said, no, he's a great locker room guy, but there's also a lot of evidence suggesting otherwise. And then you also have Ivan Provorov in there, who is notorious for being kind of a whiny baby. So
yeah, and he also had brought unwanted controversy to the team that season.
Exactly. So it just felt like not a good time to let this young kid into the locker room. Turns out that's the one thing the kid wanted, and when he didn't get that thing, he moaned about it and forced his way out of Philadelphia. So really, really, really crazy turn of events. And it does make you wonder, like, what would things have been like if, Tony D'Angelo perhaps may not have been there, or if Ivan Provorov may not have been there.
You
like,
wonder.
could Cutter Gauthier be a Flyer right now?
I mean, we'll never know. We'll never know, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay moving onward and forward, and just hoping that Gauthier has a very mid-career, and Drysdale ends up being a top 4 defenseman for this team for a long time coming.
Well, if that had happened, who knows if the Flyers would have gotten Michkov, right? So,
no, they would have, because
that's right. It was the season. Yeah, that's right.
Because he,
I forgot. Yeah, I'm getting my timeline all mixed up.
Well, because the thing is about that, like, it was the end of the season, so he wasn't really going to affect the standings.
Yeah.
And the thing that we just thank the heavens for every day is the fact that everybody else was too scared off by the Russia factor to take him in the top 5. And then he flat out said to the Coyotes, like, don't bother. I want no part of this.
Do not take me.
I ain't coming. And now they're in Utah. How about that? But the man, going back to that draft party, with the second the Canadians picked Reinbacher, what a feeling that was. We knew it was happening.
Much like the Zeev Buyam,
Well, that's if you do want to talk what ifs with Gauthier, Zeev Buyam's an interesting one too, because if I asked this in the Slack channel the other day, if the Flyers don't make the Gauthier for Drysdale trade, do they then think, they feel more inclined to take a flyer on Zeev Buyam at that point in the draft?
Well, if they do that, then they don't get Jett Luchanko, which, of course, Steve.
Sliding doors there.
Kids on the team.
I think you're saying his name wrong, though.
What's the correct pronunciation?
According to this longtime Flyers reporter, you might have heard of him. His name's Sam Carchidi, the Broad Street Bull. It's Jett Luchanko.
Oh, no. Did he tweet that?
He did, and he didn't take it down either. And he tried to blame autocorrect for it.
Jett
Luchanko.
Why does he always
take it to the beats? We love slamming Sammy Carchidi around.
I do love slamming Sammy Carchidi typos. They are so
I miss.
So
I haven't seen as much of it lately, but man, when that guy delivers a banger tweet, he delivers a banger tweet. So Jett Luchanko is his name. Steve Hartnell. I don't think that was him in the first. I think that might have been that was a broadcast.
Yeah, it was just on the TV. It was the broadcast. But still, there's nothing better than a Flyer's name being misspelled. Like, Jett Luchanko, Steve Hartnell, Meat Reed. Just so many good misspellings. And that just have gone down in Flyers lore. So this is great. I'm glad that he's Jett Luchanko now.
Jett Luchanko. No, his name is Jett Luchanko, and it is glorious. Okay, we make fun of Cutter for being called Cutter because it's stupid. But
Jett is like a cooler name.
Jett is a cooler name, and it's appropriate because the kid has wheels, and he made the team outright. Like, will he go back after 9 games? It seems very likely, just because that's the trial period. But I don't know that necessarily is going to be the case, because he really does fit nicely in that lineup as the third line center. So here was the projected lineup that I saw on Daily Faceoff at least a couple days ago. So it's Michkov, Couturier, Konechny on the top line, Tippett, Frost, Forrester on the second line, which is a sexy second line. I like that one a lot. And then the third line, Farabee, Luchanko, Brink, which
that's a fun third line.
That's a fun and a young third line, because Luchanko is 18 years old.
It's a kid's line. Like, Farabee is the oldest dude on that line, which is hilarious because he still hasn't graduated from our top 25 under 25 list yet.
You love to see it. You do love to see it. That's an awesome third line potentially. And I like that fourth line as it is right now. Scott Lawton, Ryan Poehling, and Garnett Hathaway. Like, that's a solid fourth line.
Perfect fourth line. That's as good as it gets. Poehling, excellent. Hathaway, excellent. Lawton, perfect fourth liner.
Anything more than that? Across.
Yeah. Like, exactly. It's a really, really good fourth line. And so, those 4 lines, those are NHL lines. Like, a couple years ago, I'm talking, like Brendan Lemieux coming in, like, dressing for the Flyers every night. Like,
Oh my
no-name
God.
dudes.
Well,
like
you got to bring in TDA's buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
we got
it was
Tony
just-
D'Angelo. You got to bring in Brendan Lemieux so they can do a podcast from the locker room.
It was cursed times a couple of years ago. And now the Flyers have 4 straight up NHL lines, which is great. Noah Cates is an extra right now. Nick Delorier, like right now, like he should not be in the lineup, which you could argue that he shouldn't have been in the lineup ever to begin with. But now he definitely shouldn't, because the lines are so good that like it does not make sense to dress him. So unless you're playing like the Rangers and someone needs to beat up Matt Rempe again.
Oh my God, Matt Rempe.
But like these are 4 excellent NHL lines. And you're right. I'm excited for that third line. The Farabee, Luchanko, Brink line is going to be a lot of fun. I will say I am skeptical on if Luchanko will stay beyond the 9 games. Reason I say that is because it wasn't long ago the Flyers made a comment about Jamie Drysdale and how he was rushed to the NHL at too young an age and he wasn't ready for it. Jett Luchanko is barely 18 years old.
Right.
Like what? Like barely 18 years old. Wouldn't they be directly contradicting themselves by keeping him in the NHL longer than the 9-game period if he truly isn't ready? Like if he doesn't come in these 9 games, assuming he plays all 9, if he doesn't come in and just absolutely rock and like really, really, really blow the doors down, then what's the point of keeping him up? Wouldn't you be running the same risk that the Ducks did with Drysdale? So to me, I think he needs to be superb, like offensively and defensively over his 9-game trial in order for him to stay on the team the whole year. If not, send him back down to the juniors. He'll get a shot next year again. And I don't see any harm in that.
I don't see any harm in that either. I don't know if he has to be superb though. I don't know.
I prefer that.
I would prefer that too, but
I don't want him to look like the worst player on the team.
No, I'm not saying that, my guy. Yeah. I'm saying that I wonder, I don't know if this is going to be the case because I'm not John Tortorella and Danny Briere who are ultimately making this decision, but I do wonder if he is like a B+ player in those games, which is pretty friggin' impressive for being 18 years old. If that's good enough to stay with the team for the year, because he does fit nicely into that slot. So my question on that front is, if you do send Luchanko back after 9 games or whatever, who are you inserting into that third line center spot? Because you have a couple options. I don't really love
I know
any of them,
Mm-hmm.
but like who would be your first thought as to who should play there?
To me, it comes down to 2 guys. It comes down to Noah Cates, which you could argue he's not even a third line player. He's more of a fourth line guy. Great defensively, like really, really, really good defensively. A couple of years ago, it was, people kind of looked at him and said he could win the Selke. He's so good defensively.
And I'm a little shocked that he's not in the lineup right now, because he really was one of Torts' guys a couple of years ago.
He's a good player, but they want to see what this Luchanko guy has. And if he doesn't have it, then I think what you do is you bring up Cates. He plays center on the Farabee, on the third line with Farabee and Brink. Or what you could do is have him play left wing, which he's done before. And you could put Lawton at center. Now, granted, Scott Lawton hasn't exactly, he's kind of like that flex guy. You can kind of put him in at center, put him in at wing. Doesn't really matter. He'll kind of fit wherever he needs to go. I don't think it's ideal for Lawton to be playing third line center, but it can be done. And we have seen him be effective in that role before. Maybe not for long stretches, but we have seen it. So I think those are your 2 options. Bring up Cates, let him be the defensive guy on that third line, let him be the center, or, put him on the fourth line and then put Scott Lawton on as the 3C and see what happens there.
Brian Paling also is perfectly capable of subbing it at 3C.
Yeah, and he could.
I think Paling is one of those players, like, he is truly a fourth line player, but
I agree.
He's got the skills to play in a number of spaces in the lineup.
Fast.
He's fast. And that's one of the nice things.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the nice things is all of a sudden we're looking at a team that actually has some speed. Again, Michkov's not a burner. I wouldn't say he's slow, but he's not a burner.
Right.
TK's got some speed to him. Tippett is one of the fastest flyers I've seen,
Like
maybe ever.
Wasn't he the fastest player? Like, didn't he log the fastest speed
I think
in the NHL last season? He's very fast.
Tippett can blaze. Jett Luchanko is very fast, so I'm very excited about that. And I'm also excited about his two-way play in the rookie game,
which was excellent.
Yeah. Like, and the preseason, like, he really, man, we went from thinking Danny Briere reached on this kid to maybe he knew something, Yeah. The scouts were cooking. Who knows? What were they cooking?
What I want to see from him is, because I'll be honest with you, I'm expecting him to be good defensively, like away from the puck, because he's shown that throughout the preseason. I think he's looked good away from the puck throughout the preseason. I want to see him be better offensively.
That'd be
because
nice.
I mean, this is a first round guy. Like, you want to see your first round guy develop into like optimally a top 6 guy, especially if it's a center.
Yeah.
You want to see that guy turn into a point producing player.
Well, especially also playing with Farabee and Brink, like, those are guys that are not known for their defensive prowess, right?
Right. Yeah.
Brink got into Torts' doghouse a couple times last year for his lack of defensive responsibility, and Joel Farabee is best known for looking high all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Joel Farabee, by the way, but he definitely has a look of.
Both of them have been in Torts' doghouse before, and who's to say it won't happen again? Like,
yeah.
And what are you going to put all the responsibilities on Jett Luchanko, an 18-year-old who just became old enough to vote 2 months ago?
It's wild.
Like, what are we doing there? So I feel like you have to really, really be careful with Jett Luchanko here, because is it great that he made the team? Yes. Do I think he made the team because the Flyers are saying, you know what, let's just give him a few more games to see, and if he's not ready, we'll send him down? I think it's more them just trying to figure it out a little bit more so than them thinking, oh, he's a full-time NHLer right here, right now. Because I don't think that's quite where we are.
I'm inclined to think that way, but I'm excited regardless. Like, the fact that he showed as much as he did this early. It's very encouraging. Blowing me away. It's very encouraging. So there's some encouraging stuff, man. And the offense has a lot of great pieces right now to get me excited. The defense is a little bit more murky. Your projected starting lineup for the defense right now, you've got Cam York and Travis Sanheim, Nick Seeler and Jamie Drysdale, and Igor Zamula and Rasmus Ristolainen. That said, Seeler has been dealing with an injury since he blocked a shot in the preseason. So I think right now his status for the first game of Vancouver is a little bit up in the air, right?
It is. Yeah. We're not totally sure if he's going to play. At the time that we're recording this, he has a couple days to get on the ice. And he actually has been on the ice since he suffered that injury, but then now he's not skating. So it's a weird situation. But he's still got a little bit of time.
Yeah. And that's classic Nick Seeler for you, right? Like, all the stuff that you love about Nick Seeler's game is what ultimately gets him into injury trouble, because the man will block any shot. He is absolutely fearless with it, but that's why he's hurt. It's because he will block any shot. And it's preseason, my guy. You don't need to just let the goalie deal with it.
You don't need to be doing that.
Yeah. Don't be doing that.
Kolosov, Fedotov, they need to see some pucks. Let it hit them. You don't
let it hit them. Let them figure it out.
You don't got to get on the way.
I was going to say kids, but Fedotov's like he's closer to 30 than he is to 20.
He's a man.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's you can let the kids deal with it, but Nick Seeler, I mean, that's a guy that, we all know Nick Seeler is not the greatest defenseman out there, but he's perfectly cromulent. He is a fine defenseman.
I think he is a totally serviceable second pair defenseman.
Exactly. But without him in there, you have to go to Eric Big Johnson over there, and that guy has not been very good for a few years now. And he is your extra defenseman. He's your press box guy. He's there for the vibes, the guidance.
He's what Mark Stahl was last year,
right? Except without. Well, we don't.
But better, perhaps. Yeah. Perhaps better.
Also, Mark Stahl, horrible beard. We need only good beards here. Sorry, Nick Delorier, your beard's terrible too. But we got it. Only good beards.
Yeah, I think Delorier actually looks better clean shaven. He looks like, to me, he looks scarier without the beard. So
Yeah,
I really
or at
think
least some
so, yeah.
stubble or something, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
but
just like a small, maybe like a 5 o'clock shadow type deal. But like, dude, just get rid of the beard. You look kind of
or
weird.
like
So,
use some beard oil, my guy. Come
yeah,
on, like
it's rough.
listen. One of our listeners turned me on to beard oil a few years ago, and beard oil is awesome. It made a difference. And Nick Deloria, D'Lo, you need some beard oil, my guy. Get on top of it. But yeah. So going back to the defense, without Sealer, that really changes up the mix because then you might have to break up York and Sanheim, which I know Torts loves some York and Sanheim.
Yeah.
Because then your righty lefty disparity is like a little crazy because
I also
there's
think
no
that's
universe.
overrated.
It is overrated, but there's no universe in which I want Eric Johnson and Rasmus Ristolainen playing together on defense.
I don't either. That doesn't seem like a great idea. I will say Ristolainen looked okay this preseason.
It's probably the best I've seen him look in a Flyers jersey.
I think so. Like, he looks pretty good. Like,
he actually looked good. Like, he looked like he was covering. He actually threw his weight around a little bit. And as I always say with Rasmus Ristolainen, I just want him to murder guys out there. Like, I just want him, and we saw murder. I just want him to like manhandle guys in front of the net. You know, like I want him to be Darth Vader with the Emperor throwing him into that pit while he's getting electrocuted. You know, like just defend your goalie at all costs. Okay, clear that crease, my guy, and we're good. All right, I will look past your insane salary if you just toss guys around.
Yeah, and we saw it. We saw it in one of the preseason games. I can't remember which game it was, but
might have been the Islanders. I feel like they played the Islanders like 60 times.
Yeah, I just remember Ristolainen just absolutely decked a guy. And it kind of started like a little, like a not kind of a mini scrum. Nothing crazy happened, but you want to see that from him. He's a big guy. You want to see him throwing the body. Like, what's the old Peter Laviolette thing where he's just punching the guy in the helmet, just like pound the body. Yeah. Pound the body.
Yeah, right there.
So you gotta more. Yeah, like it's good to see him laying the body and getting physical because he is a big guy and he needs to be doing that. That's the role he plays now, whether he likes it or not. It's weird because he started off his career as like something of an offensive threat for the Sabres. He ain't that. Not anymore. That's not his role.
No.
He's got to take advantage of his size, and it seems like he's getting comfortable doing that, or more comfortable doing that, I should say.
And he doesn't have to be here. I mean, Zamula can play offensive puck pretty well. Cam York obviously is excellent at offensive defenseman, and Jamie Drysdale, that's his bread and butter. And also Travis Sanheim was brought up as an offensive defenseman. So like you've got guys that can handle that stuff.
Right.
Just concentrate on defense and being a huge ass defenseman. That's all we want from you, Risto. And if he does throw his weight around like he can, he will turn into a fan favorite from doing that kind of stuff. You know, like,
oh yeah.
Even Luke Schenn, who wasn't great, Luke Schenn crushed dudes. So Luke Schenn had plenty of fans here because he did crush dudes.
And people loved him for that.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I think there was a lot of people in the fan base who were understanding that he wasn't very good, but the people who loved him absolutely would have died for him because he was a heart and soul guy. Yeah. And
I will say, by the way,
Luke Schenn is still playing right now.
Exactly. I was going to say, like, you look around, he's still playing, and he's still a guy that's like coveted by teams.
Yeah. So it makes you think, makes you wonder,
makes you think.
But good, not an amazing blue line, but it certainly could be way, way worse.
Yeah, honestly, I like it. I mean, the only thing, like, Sean Walker obviously was great last year, so I kind of miss Sean Walker, and good on Dr. T for picking him up. But no, I like it. It's solid. There's a lot of room to grow because you do have a lot of youth in there. I mean, Zamula, York, and Drysdale are all young.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they have a lot of learning to do. And, Drysdale's obviously still a pretty rough project for the team, but like his skating that he showed in preseason, which is like a lot of the battle with him, looked awesome. So there's a lot of upside with Drysdale.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Yeah. I think Drysdale I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. If he can stay healthy, he'll be running this power play. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we could see a serious uptick in point production from him.
The power play, man. The power play was one of the league's worst last year.
It has the potential to be much better simply because of Drysdale, and of course Michkov. So
yeah, Drysdale and Michkov, man, that really could make such a huge difference. I'm very pumped for that. So the last component. Oh well, actually, do we want to talk about a potential guy in the minors to also keep an eye on as far as defense goes, or move on to the goaltenders right now?
let's go to the goalies, and we'll talk about the minors guys.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
In the minors section. Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, goaltender, the clear-cut starter this season is the son of errors himself, Sam Ersson, who he had some rough stuff down the stretch, but a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that he was not expecting to be the starter last year. He didn't quite have the conditioning down for that role because everything that happened with Carter Hart. Sam Ersson was not expecting that. And Sam Ersson was thrust into a very difficult job, especially when the defense went down the tubes without Sean Walker in the second half. They justifiably traded Sean Walker, and it just was not good down the stretch at all. So I'm hoping that Sam Ersson, who looked really solid in preseason, can have the conditioning put together for a full NHL job, because he is the undisputed starter on this team right now.
And it's not a debate at all.
It's not even close.
Sam Ersson's the number one guy, and I'm going to be honest, he looked real good in preseason, like really, really, really good. And before he crashed and burned last season because of fatigue, he looked good then too.
He looked really good. Yeah.
In the few weeks after Carter Hart got, dismissed, he looked the part of a starting goalie. I'm not saying he's going to be in the running for a Vezina or anything like that. I don't think that's who he is, but I think he absolutely can be the Flyers' number one goalie. And I think I think the Flyers could look at him and say, you know what, we'll take this. We're happy with this and move forward. The big question mark is not Ersson. To me, it's Fedotov. Oh, is 100%. Fedotov even capable of playing in hockey in the NHL? Like, we don't know. Like,
right.
We've only seen him a few times, and every time we've seen him, aside from that first game where it was like really fun and everyone was freaking out every time he even touched the puck, like aside from that game, he's looked shaky. So we really, really need to see more from him. And he was not, amazing in the preseason.
No.
So he's got a lot to prove.
He does have a lot to prove. And he's a big body, but that can lead to mobility issues sometimes, which is what a lot of the problems we saw in the preseason, where, if he got out of position, he had a lot of trouble getting back into it because it's just so much more body to move around. You don't usually see, you see big guys in net, but you don't usually see huge guys like him. The only guy I can think of in recent history like that is Ben Bishop.
Yeah, no, you're right. And, Big Ben, that was his whole shtick. And there are some big goalies, but, I feel like we're starting to see some smaller goalies coming in. Like, you used to see a lot of 6'5", 6'4". Now we're seeing 6'1", 6'2", maybe even a 6-footer. Like, Carter Hart wasn't that big. So, we're seeing a lot of guys coming in. UC Saros, I think he's 6'1". So not that big. No, excuse me. He's 6 feet even, if not smaller. So some goalies, size isn't as important as size doesn't matter, as they say.
Is that right, my friend? Let's go.
Good news for us, Steve. But
talk for yourself, pal. Wow,
so
this got into Flyers After Dark already.
It's only
appropriate because the game starts. The first game is
After Dark. It is Flyers. Yeah, we might as well get an early jump on it.
Back-to-back Flyers After Dark to start the season. Back-to-back nights. It's wild. The NHL just hates us. But for the record, who's taller, Ben Bishop or Ivan Fedotov?
I believe Fedotov.
Fedotov is correct. 6'8". Fedotov is officially listed at. Ben Bishop 6'7".
I remember him being 6'7", and I knew that Fedotov was a little bit bigger. So
I was saying to Kelly last week, if Fedotov just stays in butterfly the whole time, I think he'd stop more pucks that way.
Honestly, yeah.
Just go side to side on this.
Yeah, don't even bother. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Because now he fills up the whole friggin' net. It's crazy.
The question with him, if he can't figure out the NHL thing, you have to ask about Kolosov, because, there was a bit of drama this summer about Alexei Kolosov. What's his situation? Is he coming over? Is he not coming over? At first, it looked like he wasn't going to come over for training camp. Then, poof, here he is. He's in Philly, in Flyers shit, playing for the Flyers in preseason games. And his first appearance was real good, Steve.
Yeah, he looked great. Yeah.
He looked really, really good. And according to one Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, it sounds like we have a little bit of insight on as to, what his situation is moving forward. It sounds like the Flyers are basically giving him to the end of October to figure out, like, okay, what are we going to do with you? And what does our goalie situation like? They're going to kind of decide, are they going to send him back to the KHL or not?
Right. So and I know he wants, and basically from everything we've picked up from these media reports is Kolosov either wants to be here in the NHL or he wants to be back in the KHL. He doesn't want any part of Lehigh Valley. He doesn't want any part of.
He wants to play in the NHL.
He wants to play in the NHL.
This is a similar situation to the Cutter Gauthier thing, except sounds like Kolosov is being a little more. He's playing ball a little more than, a lot more than Gauthier did. So it sounds like at the end of this month, they're going to say, all right, here's our situation. Here's our plan. What do you think? And if he doesn't agree, then I guess he's going to consider returning to the KHL, which isn't,
and that's
not terrible. Like, because it's now that we're in this situation, it sounds like he's now back on board with the Flyers. Like, it sounds like he's thinking, okay, well, I'm here. I'm going to try this out. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to the KHL and then try it again next season. That seems to be the situation. It sounds like they've kind of came to an agreement here. And if that's what happens, then that's not the worst thing. But like, man, Fedotov's got to be real good. Like,
he's got to be, because
here's the thing:
there's talent in the system. Because not only do you have Kolosov there knocking at the door, but you also have what's his name,
Zvragin, but he's 3 years
Zvragin.
Away. Years away. So,
but you've got names in the system.
Yeah.
It's like there are definitely people, and again, Fedotov's like 27 years old. So like he's got to prove it quick. Yeah. Like this, honestly, I know he signed a 3-year contract, but this is really his year that he has to prove it, because the Flyers can get creative with that contract if they have to.
Now, here's the thing. So the contract, it's for $3 million AAV. No one is claiming him. If Ivan Fedotov is not good, no one is claiming that contract. So the Flyers could easily just send him down to the minors. Could it be, Steve, that Danny Briere went into this goalie picture playing 4D chess, thinking, you know what? We're going to sign Kolosov. Why don't we just sign Fedotov to this AAV that he really does not deserve? And if he's bad, and we'll see how it goes. And if he's bad, we just send him to the minors and we still got him because no one's going to claim him. And then we just bring up Kolosov. And if he's better, then boom, profit. Granted, I think that would be an insane way of operating, and I don't think that's realistic. And I absolutely do not think that's at all what the thought process was.
But that's I think there might be a little bit, though. And there's so many interesting factors, because you also have the fact that you have Fedotov and you have Igor Zamula, and you bring Matvei Michkov on, and he's got 2 Russian friends instantly that he can talk to and hang out to. Because one of the reported issues with Kolosov was that he was kind of felt isolated in his hotel room, didn't really have anybody to speak to on the team. And they have made sure from day one that Michkov has people he can talk to. And it's funny because, like, I listened back to an old podcast I did many years ago where we were joking and kind of dunking on Paul Holmgren for, hooking up like people's like family and friends with jobs. Like we're talking about like Bruno Gervais was brought in because he was Max Talbot's buddy. And we were talking about how like they traded for Luke Shen because he was brother with Braden Shen. It would make Braden Shen play better. And, those are still, I will still mock those to this day, but having guys in place to keep your potential superstar happy and comfortable, that is something you can't place enough value on that. I will happily play Fedotov $3 million for a couple years to be Mishkov's friend until he learns English better and, just hang out. Like, it's totally worth it because he's that good of a player and he's that much of a potential game changer for this franchise. So like, give me those pro friends right now, because that's a great move. That said, Fedotov, if he wants an NHL job, he is going to have to really prove it, because there is talent in the pipeline and they want those NHL jobs.
And they don't want to have to deal with this whole Kolosov thing some more. They really, I really don't think they do.
We're all over it.
I think they value Kolosov a lot internally. And if it comes down to it and Fedotov is playing horribly, and then you look down in the AHL and Kolosov is just balling, you have to do something. You have to at least give him a shot in the NHL and throw him a bone and see if he continues playing well in the NHL. Because at that point, what do you have to lose? Like, you're not going to lose Fedotov, especially if he's playing poorly. His contract, it would not make sense for any team to try and claim him.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
It does give them a little, in the weirdest way, Fedotov's contract gives them flexibility. I know that sounds weird. It doesn't give them financial, it doesn't give them cap flexibility, really. Like, it does complicate the cap because it's more a bigger AAV than he deserves, but it does give them flexibility on moving him down and getting Kolosov up. It's a
bargaining chip.
Thing. It is.
It's a bargaining chip. And I'm sure they've known that there are potential issues with Kolosov since they brought him over and, the drama happened in the first place. Like, they obviously know a lot more about the internal workings of these situations than we do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
So really, really interesting little, it's going to be cool to see what they end up doing the first month. Fedotov's got some big games ahead of him.
Big man with some big games ahead of him.
It's true.
Yeah. So quickly, I wanted to talk about guys in the AHL to watch out for. So who are some of the guys that throughout the season we might be seeing come up, play, get some cups of coffee with the Flyers, those kind of guys?
So I think a couple of the guys that you were thinking of earlier when we were talking about defensemen in the minors are Emil Andre and Hunter McDonald.
Yes.
So Emil Andre looked really, really good this preseason. I think next year, he's going to be a full-time NHLer. I don't think that's a debate. I think he's ready. You could argue that he should be on the team now, but I feel like, there's just a little too much depth there on the NHL roster for it to make sense putting him up there right now. But I will not be surprised if he is a full-time Flyer next season to start the year. I think he deserves it. I think he earns it. And then there's Hunter McDonald, who has not quite earned it yet, but the team just
talk about being big.
He's a big, large kid who's really strong, and he plays the way hockey men love large defensemen to play. He's tough, starts shit after the whistle, mixes it up with the other team, plays the game the quote unquote right way. He just seems to be pretty mature in terms of his defensive play and, play away from the puck for his age. He's pretty young. I believe he's 21. I might be wrong on that, but yeah. So he's an interesting guy to keep. He's 22, excuse me. He's an interesting guy to keep an eye on because he does have that size. He does kind of add some muscle if the Flyers need it. So Emil Andre and Hunter McDonald are right there. Obviously, we've talked about Alexei Kolosov. Another guy I want to talk about who really, really impressed me throughout training camp was Anthony Richard.
Rocket Richard.
Some people are calling him Tony Dick. And
Tony Dick. Ant Dick, I like to call him too.
Very clever. I love the Tony Dick name. Tony Dick. I think he played well enough in the preseason that I think he should get a game or two if it comes to India.
Yeah.
I really, really do. Like,
the dude had wheels. We were talking about speed in the system that the Flyers always he flew out there. Like, I think it was a breakaway I saw at one point, or at least like close to a breakaway, where he was just flying out there. So the guy has a lot of speed.
He can really, really, really move. And like, obviously we know how much the Flyers are prioritizing speed right now. He seems like a guy who could, I'm not saying he could come up and be a difference maker. I really don't think that's the kind of guy he is, but like, I do think he has some potential. I think he could come up and be a solid, if you're in a pinch and you need a guy who's speedy and, a good offensive producer, he's not going to put up big points, but he is going to be involved in the offensive zone. And that's, I think, what the Flyers are kind of looking for right now. So if someone gets hurt, could see him coming up. And then, of course, I could see Ula Lexell coming up. Lexell had an amazing training camp. And you could argue that he deserved to be on the Flyers more than Jett Luchanko did. But the Flyers want to see what they got. Right. But the Flyers want to see what they have in Jett Luchanko. They want more center depth. It's very clear that they're not crazy about their center depth right now. So that's really the main reason, I think, that he made the team. But Ula Lexell was awesome in training camp. So it's not weird to see him we've seen him on the Flyers the last couple seasons. He hasn't
Is his
really.
name not Ali?
Ula is, I believe, how it's pronounced.
Ula
Lexell.
I've been living a lie.
I know, yeah.
It's like when I found out the sauce was called Rayos and not Rouse.
That's what I thought for the longest time. But Lexell has been really, really good. And granted, he hasn't been too noticeable the last couple of years in his stints with the Flyers, but he looked like a different guy this summer. And
no, he looked great. He did.
And this is kind of like his last chance to really be like, hey, like I can be part of this, you know? And so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but he looked good. And I think it would be cool to see him get an opportunity up with the Flyers. So there's a few guys to keep in mind. There's Anthony Richard and there's Ula Lexell. And I think, there was a period.
Samu? What about Samu?
I was going to say there was a time where people thought Samu Tuamala would be up there, but he missed a lot of training camp. And, I think
he looked great in the rookie games, man.
He did, but those are rookie games.
I know, but he showed me a lot. He had some creativity and skill. I think he's a guy to watch.
I like Samu Tuamala, and I do think he's a guy to watch. But I do think that he lost some ground to Ula Lexell and to Tony Dick.
I think though
because of his inactivity.
Right. But I think he's more of a name to keep on your radar because I think he's more likely to have a role in the Flyers long term than either of those guys.
Which I agree. I'm talking this year.
Oh, yeah. Well,
long term, Samu Tuamala, absolutely. Yeah. I think he's
Hey, listen, this is the season preview, so you got to keep these things in mind. So
right. Yeah.
And this is a guy that I think you're likely there is a chance you could see him have a cup of coffee with the Flyers this year. There is definitely
absolutely,
a chance
I think there's a chance he could be on the team full time next season. Who knows? If he has a good year in the AHL and he comes up and he looks like he belongs, and then he has a good camp next year, he's going to be on the team.
Team's getting real interesting real quick because you are starting to see some log jams with young talent at positions. So in the next couple of years, Danny Briere is going to have some difficult decisions to make, and I think it's going to be fascinating to watch.
It is. It's going to be. There's a lot of good stuff going on right now, and it's been a lot more entertaining the last year or so watching this team and the development of the young players compared to honestly pretty much what the last 7-8 years combined.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like since the Ghost season, this is the most exciting it's been watching young players.
Yeah. Well, this is what we were hoping for from the Hextall era. This is what we were hoping that the promised land that Ron would bring us to. And it took a combination of guys that Hextall drafted, Fletcher drafted, and missteps from both of those guys that have led us to this point. But if it all culminates in Matvei Michkov bringing us to the promised land, it was all worth it because, again, I love what I've seen from this kid. This is the most hyped prospect the Flyers have had since Eric Lindros. And I cannot wait to see him regular season NHL action. So this Friday, we are all pumped for that. Yeah. Let's fucking go. Finally, to end the night, I wanted to end things in a very Flyperbole fashion. So again, if you're new to the show, I'm sorry, but I'm also sorry. Not sorry. We have a number of inside jokes and references that we mentioned. So I wanted to give basically our Flyperbole predictions for the year. So I have a few different categories laid out. We can do this rapid fire because it's getting late. Quigz and I got to wake up early. So let's get through it. So first off, we do love some Guy Fieri around these parts. He is ridiculous, and that feeds our energy. So the player most likely to give us a ticket to Flavortown, and that's got to be Matvei Michkov.
It's absolutely Michkov. If you wanted to get throw out like a dark horse candidate, maybe you could say Jett Luchanko if he plays really, really well early on. But for the most part, there's only one answer here, and that's Michkov.
That's Michkov. Brings to Flavortown, baby. Second, the player who needs more donkey sauce, of course, Guy Fieri's famous donkey sauce that was lambasted in the New York Times that one time. But you could say it's Morgan Frost. You could say it's Joel Farabee. There's a couple of guys that, need to sauce it up this year.
You know who I actually might throw out there?
Ooh, who?
You look at the lines and you look at who's on the power play. You look at who's not on the power play. Makes you wonder if Sean Couturier needs some more donkey sauce, Steve.
Ooh, he could use a little bit more sauce.
The way he ended last season was not good. Obviously, he got scratched after being named the captain. So really, really odd dynamic between Coots and Torts right now. Would it be out of the realm of possibility that, Torts kind of tells him like, hey, I need some more donkey sauce out of you, Coots.
I hope he says those exact words. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's what I hope so.
I mean, it is possible, but I also like the idea of utilizing him a little bit more sparingly, given his injuries in the past few years.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
But there will be a point, especially if the Flyers find themselves in March knocking on the playoffs door again, like they
need more.
And they will need more, especially if he is the captain. I will say the best captain thing I saw from Coots in the preseason was when somebody tried to mess with Michkov and Coots actually dropped the gloves, which was stunning to me. And
yeah,
I don't want to see him fighting on a regular basis. I absolutely don't. But it was great leadership in that moment.
Friend of the show, associate coach Brad Shaw said after the game, that was perfect, quote unquote, perfect leadership from Sean Couturier. So obviously Sean Couturier plays a major, major role in the team, as the captain. I'll be frank with you. I don't quite understand still why they named him captain when they did. It still doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but he's doing a good job being like the leader of the team. And we saw it in that little fight with Michkov, or defending Michkov, I should say. So, yeah, but I don't know. He might need a little more donkey sauce, Steve. So we'll see.
It could potentially, but I also know that John Tortorella in the past few years has had some issues with Morgan Frost, so that could always come to pasture here. And tying into that, the player most likely told to shut it down in a John Taffer fashion by John Tortorella. My two candidates here were Drysdale or Frost. It could be either one of them because I could see him having issues with either.
I feel like Drysdale is going to drive him crazy. Like a healthy Drysdale would drive him crazy, but I feel like he also understands that like the game Drysdale plays is offensive, and that's kind of like what his focus is. So I don't think anyone would be surprised if he just continues hating on Morgan Frost for no reason whatsoever.
The toilet seat.
But you know who else I want to throw in here is Bobby Brink.
Oh, yeah. And Bobby Brink drove him nuts.
I like Bobby Brink a lot, but he really, really, really pissed off Torts quite a bit last season. Like, he got sent down to the minors. He got scratched a million times. We saw him get screamed at by Torts multiple times. Like, he's got to fix his game a little bit to be a little more Torts-like.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that he needs to completely, abandon his offensive gifts, but, Torts... I think he wants to see a little bit more from Brink. And if he doesn't make those changes and if he doesn't kind of play the game that Torts wants him to play, then, something resembling that, then Torts might, put him in the doghouse again.
Shut it down. There we go. Perfect.
Shut it down.
In the Limp Bizkit fashion, the player most likely to make you, the fans, want to break stuff this season. So who's the most frustrating Flyer you could see potentially?
I could see it being Owen Tippett.
I could see it being Owen Tippett too, because Owen Tippett is a guy capable of scoring. Frankly, I think Owen Tippett is capable of scoring 40 goals.
I think so. Yeah. I think
sometimes that play just does not match what you are expecting. So
like sometimes he'll have a stretch where he just misses the net for like 15 straight shots or something crazy. And I know that people like one thing that drove fans crazy all the time was how Ghost would always miss the net.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes Tippett
though.
goes on little streaks where he just has no accuracy in his shot. But then you see him turn it on and he's just like a god, basically, for 3 weeks.
He does that spinorama goal against the Stars, which that's the best goal I've seen since Claude Giroux left, easily.
That, to me, is still that game that they played against the Stars that night is still the best game, most complete Flyers performance I've seen in like half a decade, if not longer.
Pretty long, yeah. Well, they were playing great right before the pandemic, but then COVID told the Flyers to shut it down.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
next up, we have the inexplicable player of the year.
Inexplicable player of the year.
That, for the record, is the Corn Freak on a Leash sound, if you're not familiar.
So what constitutes an inexplicable player of the year?
I think it's just a guy you can't explain, like as far as like trying to explain either why he's good or whatever.
Why he's here, or
why he's here. Let's go with that. Why he's here.
Honestly, I'm gonna take some heat for this probably.
Do it.
I'm gonna say Scott Laughton, man.
No, I believe you, because outside of
I love Scott Laughton. He's such a good dude.
Yeah.
Great person. Excellent locker room guy for this team. But he is absolutely replaceable, Steve.
Like, he should have been traded.
If he ends his career Flyer, that would be awesome. If he doesn't, that would be awesome. Like,
I agree.
Either way, it goes either way. He brings benefits to the table. He really does. But it's just, like I said, he is a replaceable player. And I hate saying that because I like him so much as a person and as a player, but he's replaceable. And
he's extremely replaceable.
I have a feeling it'll be like, for the third year in a row, the trade deadline will come to pass. And once again, we will be having the conversation. How the fuck is Scott Laughton still a Flyer?
Because there's not many guys that are obvious trade candidates on this team right now. There's not a Sean Walker that it's like, well, you have to trade Sean Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know? And he's seemingly the only guy who makes the most sense to be like a trade piece. So,
and the thing is, they're heavy in wingers right now. That's where the young talent's coming from. Somebody's got to move at some point.
Yeah.
No, that's a good answer right there. I like it. Sorry, Scott, you're going to be the bullet flying through like 10 different walls in slow motion. Go. The sorry, not sorry player who is unrepentant for being bad at hockey. I'm giving this easily to Nick Delorier.
I think you could also, if he ends up playing a lot of games, I think you could also give it to Erik Johnson.
Oh yeah, Big Johnson.
Like if there's 100%. if there's a couple injuries on the back end, that would not be good. So
no, it wouldn't be good at all. Extended Erik Johnson time wouldn't be good. Extended Nick Delorier time is never good. We're very familiar with Nick Delorier time at this point. But don't get me wrong. If you're a fan of old school fighting, he's the best in the biz.
Oh yeah,
He's an unbelievable fighter.
I truly think they're going to dress him on nights where they feel like it could get rough.
The Rangers.
Because like
the Rangers are some big boys.
Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of what his role is now. But also, like, we heard what they said to Michkov when like they first picked him up at the airport. They're showing him photos of Nick Delorier, saying that they're going to be best friends and stuff. And like stuff like that, it makes you wonder, like, are they going to play him more than we think they are? But based on the lines, barring injuries, of course, it seems like he's probably going to be in the press box.
Yeah, I much prefer Garnett Hathaway as far as
I do too.
Having protection for a player, because he can actually score some goals.
He's good. Yeah,
I like Garnett. I didn't think I was going to like him with that weird name, but I like him.
I had a feeling. A friend of mine who covers the Capitals, Sammy Silber at the Hockey News, she was like, "Oh yeah, he's perfect. Just you wait."
He's a good ass Flyer right there.
Yeah, he's good.
We got 2 more. We got the with arms wide open team savior, or what I like to call the low key MVP. And my prediction for this is Sam Ersson.
So low key MVP or just MVP?
Low key MVP, because I think Michkov's. Like,
I was gonna say, because like I think you could say Michkov is basically the MVP.
Yeah. No, I'm talking the non-Michkov MVP.
Yeah, you know what? I think Sam Ersson's actually a great selection for this, because I do think he's going to have a better year than people think. I think people still have a bad taste in their mouth after how he ended last season, but again, before he got completely just burned out, he was very, very, very good.
Yeah. I think he's ready for it.
I really think he is too. I really think he is. And like, granted, it's his teammates. Of course, they're going to say nice things about him, but they seem really, really confident that he can be like a serious, like really good player. So I agree. Sam Emerson for me.
Yeah. Big Sam Emerson. He'll potentially earn the With Arms Wide Open award, which is all very real awards right here. Right. And but finally, this one's a no-brainer, but I just wanted to mention Bud Heavy because we haven't mentioned Bud Heavy on here in a while. The Bud Heavy Player of the Year. Of course, this podcast brought to you by Bud Heavy, a very real name for a product. Matvei Michkov has to be the Bud Heavy Player of the Year. Come on. I mean, something's gone wrong if he isn't.
It's got to be Michkov, or it's got to be like
TK.
Yeah. Like it would have to be TK or Michkov.
And
I think we can all agree it's going to be Michkov.
It should be, yeah. But it could be TK too. TK, frankly, like we were saying, like it'll probably be a couple more years until Michkov is the number one guy on this team, but it might not be also because he's special, man. I feel great. Great.
He really is, man. Like it's so exciting. This is the most exciting Flyers season I can remember in a long time. So
yeah,
even if he's not as great as we think he's going to be as a rookie, I think he still should win Bud Heavy.
So. I'm going to buy him a Bud Heavy regardless. How I get it to him, I don't know. But hey, Charlie, do you mind bringing this single Budweiser to Michkov for me? Thanks.
And just take a Sharpie, write heavy on it, and just hand it to him. He's like, "What the fuck did you just give me, Charlie?"
That's perfect. He says it in like
in Russian.
Yeah. What the fuck did you just give me in Russian? Fantastic. A+. All right. It's getting late. We got to get going, but thanks so much for listening, folks. We do truly love and appreciate you all. If you have any feedback for us, unfortunately, the best place is on social media. Quigz, people find you on the socials.
Oh, wow. You can find me at Ryan Quigz with a Z right there.
It's always the opposite way.
Yeah, on the bottom
where I'm
left.
thinking to point. Yeah. You can find him at Ryan Quigz with a Z. You can find me at Flyperbole over there. That's on Blue Sky. That's on Twitter /X. That's on TikTok. That's on Instagram. That's all that fun stuff. I'm also at Esteban, but if it's for hockey purposes, make it Flyperbole. Follow Broad Street Hockey on all that social media stuff. We got some great stuff. Subscribe to the podcast feed on every damn service you can. Rate and review, please. YouTube, please. We've gotten some really good stuff through the YouTube channel. So things are coming together on that. So tell your friends, subscribe, and we're going to keep putting out clips and stuff. And we love and appreciate y'all. Spread the good word for the Broad Street Hockey Podcast and subscribe to the site. I mean, we've got some incredible writers on there, and we've got some tangy tent coming your way.
Red October, baby.
Don't. It's too soon. It's too soon.
Flyers, baby. We're back.
The Flyers, baby. It's not. We're not talking red October. It's orange October. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
It's everything orange for the next few months. Orange and black. That's what we're all about here.
Halloween, Flyers.
Damn right, man. It's always my favorite time of year. So we are pumped. We're stoked for the Flyers, and we are good to go. All right, folks. We're getting sleepy. It's time to go. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, in the words of the great Gene Hart, good night and good hockey. Wow, 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 and wow, 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 wow. Thanks to Bet Online for sponsoring the show.